I came to this country with £1,000 and a luggage full of ham and cheese to inspire every single landlord out there, women or men, to actually become more sustainable. And for me, when I came to this country, I didn't actually speak English, Russell. I had paid my rent to someone who I had trusted, but that person did not pay the landlord. Money means so many things, but the main one for me is freedom.
This with the cheese and the £1,000.
Yeah. When life gives you lemons, make lemonade. You know, from cleaning toilets to actually just running the office at the back within 3 months. So,
within 3 months.
Yeah.
Changing someone's bathroom or kitchen or living space can actually completely transform them as a person and give them the confidence that they had.
My fight is actually to provide better homes for social housing, because I don't believe that just because you don't have the money, you have to have a better house.
Yeah. Hi, and welcome to the RH podcast, The Journey. Today's guest is a very good friend of mine, or she's going to be a very good friend of mine in the future, I can feel. Her name is Raquel Queral. Did I say that correctly?
Yes, that's right. Yes.
Oh, I did. Okay, great. Amazing. Raquel is a property investor, and she's been doing this for a very, very long time. She also deals with development and helping high net worth individuals, I guess, invest all of their money. So welcome to the podcast, Raquel. Can you tell us a little bit more about yourself? And I must say, it's great to have you on here, my second female guest. Really excited about that, getting a fair representation on the podcast now, which is very important for me, and I hope it continues, and you give some great insight to some of the women out there.
Excellent. Thank you, Russell, and thank you for having me in the podcast. It is a true honor actually to be here, and the fact that you thought that I could be inspirational, it just completely elevated me to another place. So just a very 30 seconds introduction. I am Raquel Queral, and people know me like the Green Landlady. I turn your money into safe and highly profitable, sustainable houses, looking after people and the planet. So I came to this country with £1,000 and a luggage full of ham and cheese. And for the past 10 years, I have raised over £12 million of investment, made £1.2 million for profit for my investors, and housed over 1,000 tenants. I have a 100% record on returning the money to my investors, and amazing feedback from them. And my vision is actually to inspire every single landlord out there, women or men, to actually become more sustainable. So I hope we can transfer this today on the interview.
Yeah, amazing. This is not an interview. This is just more a chat about, your journey and how you got there, and this amazing story that I'm sure that you're going to tell us about, how you came from Spain with £1,000 and transformed your life and created, basically you're changing people's lives.
We are, yes. And I talk we because I wouldn't be able to do this on my own. I have a great team behind me that is actually looks after the houses and looks after everything. But but it was a very pivoting moment for me. When I came to this country, I didn't actually speak English, Russell. I had learned English in school, but when you actually leave school, I guess it's the same when people say you leave school in England and you speak Spanish. Well, not quite so. You can understand perhaps the basics, but you didn't really speak the language. And I learned that a language is a lot more than just the words you speak. And that took me a long time. And still 22 years later, my husband still thinks that I'm going to create some sort of rioting the moment I actually open my mouth, to be honest. So but yeah, it was a very brave and bold decision. I didn't realize what I was doing at the time, to be honest. All I wanted was just to improve my English and then just come back home.
Okay, amazing. So one of the things that we do on the Journey podcast, and I'll tell a little bit more about it, is so my belief is that I think that everyone has intrinsic value in their path and the journey and whatever job it is that they do. And one of the things when I was an electrician, my idea and perception of what it was to become an electrician and the journey and the path and how much money I was going to earn, it was completely different to the expectations and the reality of what I had. And, I had to break down doors and go through so many different barriers. But more importantly, what I did learn is I learned and gained so much value and strength in all of the amazing things that happen, but also all of the sort of blockades that can happen in life. And what I've started to realize that you don't need to be famous, you don't need to be rich, I think every single person has got value in their own journey. And especially for young people today, I think it's quite difficult for them to really understand, if you think, oh, I want to be a doctor, or I want to be a banker, or I want to be an actor. I think they have this idea of, oh, okay, there's a set route and it's like this, and each step happens that way. And actually life has a funny way of, showing you a different path to your journey. And I think what definitely from everyone who I've interviewed so far, I said interviewed, it shouldn't be an interview, but everyone who I've had the pleasure of having on the podcast, they have shown that what they weren't expecting to be where they were in the very beginning, and actually their journey had some amazing highs and lows. And so that's what I'm hoping to sort of share as each episode comes along, and hopefully people will be able to look back if they want to be a property investor. They can come and listen to Raquel and hear her journey and actually see that it's probably not what she was even expecting to do, but how now you're transforming and changing lives.
Absolutely. I mean, to be honest, you are absolutely right. I have a degree in tourism and foreign languages. So when I came to this country, my idea was never to become an investor. All I came here was to learn English so that I could interpret at the UN. That was my goal. Obviously, that changed massively when after 1 year in the UK, I ended up on the street. And suddenly, by no fault of my own, I had paid my rent to someone who I had trusted, but that person did not pay the landlord. And one day I left for work, and thank goodness I had someone there in the house. A friend of mine had come to visit me, and she was staying in the house, and she calls me and says, "You are being evicted within an hour." And then I was like, "What? I've paid my rent, I've done everything. So what's happening here?" And the reality was that was a massive pivoting moment in my life where I just realized I had to do something about it. It was wrong. I didn't think it was fair what was happening to me. I know life is not fair in general to some people, but what I didn't want to do is I didn't understand how it was possible that I had done everything that is correctly, yet I had ended up on the street. It was kind of like, this is not possible. This is not happening to me. I've got a degree. I'm a very I've paid my rent. I'm a goody two shoes. I don't do anything wrong. Never done anything outside of the law because I'm too scared. And then suddenly there I was on the street, literally on the street. And thank goodness there was these wonderful neighbors, these two blokes that actually opened the door at the right time when I was just leaving. And then they just said, "Oh, is everything okay?" And I thought, no, I've just been evicted. And then they just said, "Well, look, we have a bedroom in our house. Why don't you just come and move in with us?" And I was like, "Really? Oh my God. Yes, please." Yes. And I didn't know them at all, but they were these two amazing charitable men that just took me in. And obviously men, it was my age, so that we were three young kids just starting life. But they just, thanks to them, I didn't end up on the streets. And and that was the moment when I just thought, no, this is not right. I have to do something to just move along and actually just do something. And there you go. So from that moment on, I just realized I had to be the owner of my own house, and I started my quest for looking for houses, but more importantly, actually for looking for people who had the money to buy them. Because as a foreigner, I had no money, no credit history, no nothing. So nobody would give me a mortgage. Nobody would give me anything. And it took me years, but eventually I found the right person, and he believed on me. And that was the beginning of of the fairy tale.
Yeah, and listen, I think there's going to be so many listeners and so many people that would really, love to hear more about your story. And, I think one of the most difficult things, I live in London, to get on the property ladder nowadays is one of the most impossible tasks. And I understand that from the perspective of, having had well, I am now a homeowner, but like trying to get to that point. And even when I thought I was nowhere near, having the right guidance to understand how you can do it. So I'd really love to kind of get into more detail about that. But I think kind of going along with how we normally run the podcast, I'm going to give you two options. So we now know what Raquel does, the Green Landlady. And so I'd like to I'd take us right to the very beginning, like where you were born, where it all started, and then kind of work our way back to where we are now. Or if you prefer, we can essentially work backwards from where we are now. So it's just, and then we can discuss, how you ended up becoming, the successful Green Landlady.
It's very interesting because I come from a very humble beginnings. Since my mom has a stall in a traditional market, so a trade is just a market trader and
Okay.
daily market trader, and my dad is actually is a panel beater, or was a panel beater.
Okay.
But they're in a very loving relationship, and I have two wonderful sisters.
Okay, but
So
where are we? Where are
we
we
are
in Spain?
in a small village in Spain, in the east
Okay.
of Spain, which is called Castellón.
Okay, nice.
That was back in 1975. I'm not ashamed yet to actually share
Yeah.
my age, but yeah, but that was really good. So I was brought up in a very Catholic, strict Catholic and traditional family where, traditional in the respect that we are a family unit, and we are very, very close. We are a
Yeah.
very small family, so we are all very close to each other.
Yeah,
And
the Spanish culture is quite tight knit anyway.
yeah, it is. And also, it is the kind of, I was raised in the kind of family where you don't talk, you just raise your voice to make a point. So nobody stops talking. So it's basically the louder, the one
Yeah.
who speaks the loudest is the one who gets the turn to talk. So yeah, so that was just something that was interesting. Then my mom and dad, their biggest dream was that the three of us went to university, and so they worked really hard, 6 days a week, both of them, to actually just put us through university, and we did. So we managed to get that. And then the funniest thing was that, yeah, the minute I finished university, I said, okay, mommy, now I'm off. And then I
So
went back, which is a bit
so before you went to university, a little bit about the schooling life. What did you go to? Was
I
it
went,
just a small village school?
yeah, it was a traditional upbringing. I mean, the funniest thing is I've always had this. We had traditional Spanish, which is a mixed co-ed school. So there's
Mm-hmm.
where there's two forms entry for every single year, and then obviously our primary school goes from age 4 to age 13, and then you go into high school. So it's more similar to the American system.
And how was school? Were you excelling? Were you what was
I was a
how was
very
life
good
in school for you?
student.
It's basically one of the things that I've noticed in everyone's journey is there seems to be small tiny links to how they found school. So some people were disengaged and didn't really enjoy school. Some people loved school and really thrived, and it's quite interesting. I've started to notice some somewhat patterns. So I just try to touch on the schooling and then the education path to see, because what I want to try and show as well on the podcast is, it doesn't really, what I've noticed, there is no actual link to whether someone was successful in school or not successful in school. It's really about how they progressed in life and how they deal with adversity more than anything.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I was a goody two shoes, as I mentioned to you. So I was the typical A student, just prolific, not perfect. So was just I was just constantly on the go. I love talking, I love playing, it was very interesting. I was one of those kids who just has constant and this inquisitive mind, and I was completely out of. I always felt that I was out of place because everybody was, although I was a child that I just wanted to do good and I wanted to do well, and I did because I was a very, you told me what to study, but I questioned everything, and I, from the why to the doctor as to why you giving me this medicine, uh,
Yeah.
to the teacher as to, but why can we not do this in another way? So that got me into trouble, because it was kind of like, well, sometimes it was answers like, well, this is what it is, and it was like, but no, but that doesn't make sense. I want to, I want to do things, and I want to do them for the right things, and I want to understand what I'm doing. So I was always a very keen learner, and then
Mm-hmm.
also that meant that because I was a keen learner, I was keen to just participate in as many different things as possible. So, my mom took me to English lessons. She took me to basketball lessons, to swimming lessons. She wanted me at a time when it was not really, traditionally for us, it was not really about having loads of things. I was doing things that probably other children weren't. And the one thing that was very interesting is at the age of 12, I think, is we were assessed on an IQ. And at that time you were told, well, you need to pursue a high school on science or a high school in language, sorry, in what is called language, so English literature and stuff like that. And they just had a meeting with my mom, and it was kind of like, well, Raquel can really choose what she wants, but the problem is that she has too many ideas. So she's not clearly defined. And it was like, my mom was like, okay, but that's fine. She can choose whatever she, she can just, it's okay to be diverse in terms of,
Yeah,
you
of
don't have to
course.
follow a single path. So my mom was really cool about that. So that was great. And then obviously, that led me then, I mean, a very interesting fact, something that I've always been very proud. I was number 3 of beautiful girl in the class, at least as I left school. Not number 1, number 2, but number 3. Hello. At least that, I rank on something. They didn't
Yeah,
do
okay.
anything, but it was quite funny, to leave a school with that ranking. So yeah, so then we went into high school, and obviously I discovered partying. So
Oh, did you? Okay.
and God, that was interesting. Actually, just one step back, I finished. So yeah, so I finished the school, and I had, and so I took English as my language, and then my
Mm-hmm.
mom had this fantastic idea as to, well, you've already been learning English for a while in primary school, so why don't you just take another language? And I speak French, so I'll try to help you. So I thought, oh, that's fantastic. I'll do that. So what happens? I failed the bloody exam, and that means I can't go into the same high school as my friends because I failed the bloody English exam, which it was horrendous. It was kind of like, oh my God, what am I going to do? I've
Yeah.
passed every single exam, but then now is, this English exam is just over my head. So it was just horrendous. So that meant that I had to go to a completely different path from my friends, start in a high school that I knew
And so
no one
how
about.
how did you find that? Obviously, because most people end up going to the school of their choice or getting to be with their friends. So how is that for you? Sort of the first time you're kind of your path's been split away from you.
Yeah, it is. And it was a very interesting, it was a very, very hard time, to be honest, because you are 13, your hormones are all over the place. And then that means that, you have your friends that are in a completely different space. You don't know absolutely no one. You don't know where you stand. And you have to start making your place. So that's a bit of that was a bit of an issue.
Okay.
I Just bear with me 1 second, please.
We're mid podcast, by the way, guys. But I will fill the space with some amazing news about RH and developments, which I'll tell you about later.
Sorry about this.
It's okay.
So
That's the
yes,
first. That's the first time someone's left my podcast.
really sorry about that.
It's okay. Don't worry.
Yeah, well, as I said, so it was a very disconcerting times because, yeah, because of the hormones, and you're a teenager and everything is okay. So, and then everybody started, so I went into myself and I became very introvert. So which meant that, because I was introvert, my mom thought that I was into drugs and I was into all sorts of things. And the reality is that I wasn't. I was just a grumpy teenager that just locked herself away and just didn't want to do anything really more than anything else. But and then of course, then you make friends, you start going out, and then suddenly you discover partying, and God, that was the end of my good grades.
Okay.
So that was the very interesting years.
Okay.
I still have teachers asking me, how did that happen? How did you go from being an A student to a
To
fail student? And I was like, um, I don't know. Perhaps I just really
would
didn't
you,
enjoy it anymore.
and
But
what
I
did
still
you? What
love the
was your
learning.
feeling on it? What do you think was happening? What was happening with Raquel? And then how did that lead into university?
I think it was a question of, one of the things that I discovered partying, and I just enjoyed my whole year. I mean, I had to repeat my last year in university because it was so bad. The only subject I passed was the religious education, and that was because I had been a Catholic all my life, really. So I knew it inside out. But yeah, but it was, so then I realized after that I changed schools because I just realized that I couldn't do this to myself. I was just wasting my life away. Had wasted 2 years, 3 years of my life just partying and not doing really well in studies. So I decided I was gonna change the school, attend a new high school, and then just start afresh completely. Nobody knew me. There was no history. Let's just start from afresh. And then I picked up there. But
Okay.
then what happened is that when I finished in the last year of high school, then what happened was I wanted to do physiotherapy. So I had specialized on science, and I had to specialize. I have a very mathematical and logical mind. So for me it was kind of like obvious that I was going to go into something that is number based, yeah, some
Okay.
sort of numbers, or some sort of science based future. And then suddenly, so then there I am, and I do the pre-exams and I get everything sorted, and guess what? I didn't make the cut because I had had such a bad years before.
Yeah.
My medium, I needed a 6.0 to entry point, and I managed to get a 5.9. I was gutted,
Okay.
absolutely gutted. So obviously, I took my chances. I applied for universities, and I got into universities that were okay, local
Yeah.
universities. Couldn't go away or anything like that.
Okay.
And my mom said, well, why don't you do a year of nursing and then you can go and do physiotherapy? And to me, that was kind of like the worst deal ever, because it was
Yeah.
kind of like, no. And my husband is a nurse and I love him to bits, and I have nothing but beautiful things to do with to nurses. But it was not me at all. So for me, I was either the doctor or not, nothing at all. Do you know what I mean? It was kind of
Yeah.
like
Yeah. Yeah. I understand.
no middle way. And so I decided to go to something completely radically opposite, and it's a tourism and languages. You have to think that I was coming from a background where English made such a massive pivotal thing in my life.
Mm-hmm.
It just separated me from my friends. So everybody was like, "Oh my God, why are you studying languages?" But I did. I decided to study languages, and I studied English, French, German, and Italian. And obviously, I speak naturally. My mother tongue is Spanish and Catalan. So at
Yeah.
one point, I was very proud of speaking 6 languages proficiently. Nowadays, no. So don't try it.
Okay.
But
So
yeah,
so is this so then so you're at uni, you're now doing your six languages. And so is this when this kind of completely opposite scale of what you were hoping to do in physiotherapy? Obviously, you've going back a little bit further, you were saying, you were well on track for being an A student, separated from your friends. That took you on a different path to become a party animal. And then you kind of lost your way. But then you've managed to kind of find a path back into something that you enjoy or good at using your mathematical sort of analyzing brain.
it was business. It was how to run a tourism business, really. So it was brilliant in that sense, because it taught me a lot about businesses and then the things that you need to do and how to run a successful business in the tourism industry. So it was brilliant in that sense.
And so what happened? So after uni, did you go straight into business, or were you?
No, I started, well, at the same time as I was doing, remember that I is prolific, not perfect. So here I am, every chance and opportunity that I had, I would do something different. Like I would go abroad. So as soon as I started reading languages, then obviously I started going out to countries like Germany. I started going out to France. Then in the third year came round, and then obviously it's the time to come to just to improve your English. So I came to England, and that means that you have to understand, I'm my family has traces back in Castellon for over 400 years, so they've never ever left. So the mentality is a very close mentality of, you trust everything you are told by a high authority person like a doctor, then you believe it. Everything that is you don't question things, you don't question high authority, you just, you are so insular that you don't really know anything else. So
Yeah.
imagine this town girl, this very, very small town girl going out into the world and suddenly seeing that, oh my God, things are done differently. The world is a lot bigger than my city. It was just mind blowing for me.
Yeah.
And then obviously that had a massive impact. So by the time I came to the UK, I just said to one day, I just, I had been working, and obviously I worked at the same time as I was always entrepreneurial. So every weekend I was working. I got side jobs. I was, you know, sometimes doing homework for money, just doing
Okay.
anything that it just give me money, because I realized that having money was really the key, because with money you do so many things.
When did you realize that? How old were you when you started to realize that, money
13,
was actually
14,
opening doors? Okay.
13, 14.
Would
So
you would you would you say that that's how? Did you feel like, oh, okay, understanding money? Did you feel like, is money opening doors, or is it just an enhancer? What's your view on it?
for me, I mean, I love money, and I'm sorry to say, if someone doesn't know, I
No,
love
no, no. I
I
think
love it.
people think it's a taboo. It's quite an interesting subject that I've never really discussed before. But
No, I love it. And I'll tell you why I love money. I love money because money means so many things, but the main one for me is freedom.
yeah,
Money gives me
agree.
freedom to do absolutely everything that I want. Starting from not having to have a 9 to 5 job or respond
Hmm.
to anyone else, to actually just visiting the most amazing places on earth, but also contributing to causes that nobody else cares other than you. So it is so beautiful to be able to just do whatever you want. And I believe so strongly that the key reason because you can do everything that you want is because you have the financial freedom to be able to do so. So for me, as a 14, I started working when I was 13 years old, and I got myself a summer job, and I used to work actually 40 hours a week. So it was not like you work little. No, no, no. This is serious 40-hour week jobs already on
So at
this.
that age, that's quite a lot of money that you're earning.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's
So
size.
I was like, oh my God. And the thing is, because I was very good at managing it. I'm not a big spender at all. I mean,
Okay.
I'm very thrifty. So and I am one of
Do,
those
do you
people.
think that's because you started earning it at quite a young age? Because people have very strange relationships with money, and it's always there's varying different levels as to why that is. So I guess in your case, do you think because you understood its value for how hard you were working to get it, but then even at that age, it's quite a lot of value for someone your age at the time? Or do you think there was something else that kind of started to give you the insight that money's good? Because a lot of people, when you talk, oh, money, people say the root of all evil, but that's only because they've been programmed or essentially have had a relationship with it, negative relationship with it, or their families had a negative relationship with it. So it's interesting to hear you say, I love money, and actually understand why is that, if you don't mind unpacking it.
No, 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 at all. And okay, my mom always told me, my mom was used to hold the purse in the family. Yeah. So she said, um, you know, whatever money comes into this house is mine. Well, it's mine. It goes to the family purse, and I control it 100%. You know, nobody else had anything to say. So I started working at 13, and her money went to her. There was no doubt about it. You know, there was no
Oh,
way.
really?
Yeah. No, she took the whole salary. But then what
And
happened?
then so, oh yeah, go on. What
But
happened?
yeah, but what happens with this, and perhaps people don't understand, but for me, this was an amazing opportunity because that meant that she could never say no to me. So because I earned the money, anything I wanted, no matter whether it was more expensive or no, there was no longer a question of, well, no, we don't have the money. Well, no, sorry, I have earned it. Therefore, I can have the most expensive dress, so I wish. Or I can have the
Wow.
whatever I want, because there was no longer, so that power over my mum, believe it or not, it was like, what? That was better than anything else.
That's so interesting. And like, wow, I never even thought of that. You just opened my mind on something.
Yeah, so it was just amazing. It was just the fact that, you know, yes, she controlled the money. So I would work, and at the end of the week, when I earned my earnings, I would just give them to her. And then and that took for 2 years. And then after 2 years, then I rebelled and I said, hello, the money is mine. I want it on my bank account. And then obviously my mum, knowing that I was a very strong-minded individual, then obviously she said, okay, fine, open yourself a bank account and then you manage it. But then that's it. I'm not, you know, that's it with me. I'm not paying you anything else, if that makes sense. So she would
Yeah,
do
yeah,
the minimum, and anything else that I wanted was for me to provide for myself. So just, so I was never underprivileged. I was, you know, there's never ever missing nothing that of importance in our house.
yeah. Hmm.
But yeah, I had this friend, and this friend of mine, every Monday would take me to put the money into my account, and he was ever so jealous because he was, by this time I am 15, and obviously I now work in a restaurant at night time. And again, look at this. The reason because I started working was because I wanted to go out at night time, and my parents would not allow it because I'm a girl. I'm 15 years old, and
Hmm.
I'm not going to go out. However, they would be, because they are very hardworking. If I was to work, then that was fine. So therefore,
Okay.
I get a job and I start having nightlife, and that was amazing. But then what happens when you go out at night time after you've been working the whole night? You're tired. So
Yeah.
everybody's completely gone, full of alcohol, full of everything. You are completely, you know, you've got everything there. And then you realize that instead of having to spend £2,000, no, £2,000, 2,000 pesetas, which is about £8 a night, then suddenly you are only spending a couple of pounds a night because you don't have the amount of time that everybody else has had.
Yeah. Okay.
So
So
you
you
start
basically
saving.
naturally got caught into a cycle of saving.
Yeah, so it was a constant saving, over saving, over saving. So that was also something very, very interesting. But and also remember that my mom and dad put really hard working values on us, and they really show that, you know, if you work hard, you get rewarded. And in my mind, that was all it is. So there I am, you know, saving money, saving money, saving money, and then
Hmm.
to the point that I get to the age of 18, and on the day that I am 18, there you go. I've got my driving license. I've got my new car, which, you know, so it was brilliant. So it was just a question of that earning the money so young had suddenly just shown me, God, you can do so many things. You can actually get to choose things. You
Yeah.
know,
Okay.
it was just amazing on that basis.
Oh, amazing. So then fast forward back to university, you're now in your third year and you came to England.
I came to England with age 22. So I
Okay.
finished university, and
And is
then on the
this with the cheese and the £1,000?
yeah. And of course, when you are 14, you give the money to your mom. You are 15, you start saving, saving, saving. Then you get a 22 in the UK. You work, but you spend. So
Yeah.
you know, I am a normal 22 years old girl, which all I have managed to save for that time was £1,000, and because I like a lot of different things to spend my money on. And what happened was that I say to my mum one day, Mum, I'm going to England. And then she goes, oh, okay. Are you coming back? And I'm like, I don't know yet. I don't know when. So, because I only have money to buy a one-way ticket. So I bought a one-way ticket, and I thought, look, I don't know England. I don't know whether I will understand them. I don't know what they eat, but I keep on reading that is the food is really bad. So I'll just take my ham and cheese, which is my favorite thing in the world. And then I figure that I can just buy bread and survive for a month. So I buy myself ham and cheese that is supposed to be lasting me for at least a month. And then that's it. So I arrived to Golders Green and I booked myself into a youth hostel with a friend of mine. And then we started our English adventure. And little we knew that, this English adventure was going to be a long life of opportunities and helping other people. So it was just amazing, to be honest, really amazing.
Yeah, that's an amazing beginning life and story, and the beginning of the Green Landlady. So now we're in England. You're kind of like finding your feet. Are you still at university? Are you still technically studying?
I finished university.
Okay.
University, and what I have done is I've come into terms with the fact that £1,000 are not going to last me a lifetime, so I need to get a job, and the only job that I can get at this time is cleaning toilets in McDonald's. So recently graduated with a degree.
Oh my God, what was that like?
And
especially you as well, telling me the life that you've just had, and then all of a sudden the only job you can get. That must have been semi humbling.
It was a massive beating, taking a massive beating, because it's not that you could even swipe the floors. No, you were like.
And in McDonald's in London,
level, you were at the very, very bottom. So I had to work out my way really hard, and then I had to. It was very humbling, but it also reminded me that I cannot be. You cannot be too picky, and when life gives you lemons, just make lemonade. Just 100%. Make the most of it, and that was it. So at the end of the day, you cannot do things that people say to me all the time, oh, but what didn't you do? You had a degree, you were very highly educated. Your parents have worked hours and hours trying to pay you your career, and you're just cleaning toilets. And it's like, look, I didn't do all of that because I wanted to. I did it because that was the thing that I had to do at the time, and that was it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely.
I just could not. First of all, I didn't call my mother for 4 months to tell her that I was cleaning toilets in McDonald's. I was so scared of her. So I didn't tell her that. When she said, "What you doing?" I was like, "Mommy, I'm doing so well. I'm doing so well. You don't have to worry."
It's so interesting that you say that. I had another guest on the podcast, and he ended up having to do something that in his mind was below his station in life, or where he expected to be, and like even being one of his very good friends, he didn't have the courage to tell me. So it's quite interesting. There seems to be a link here that interested to hear more about. So
I think it's because look, Russell, I felt so bad. My mom had to spend so much money on my education, and they've worked so hard. And what was I proving them? That I could clean toilets? I could clean toilets before the education. I could clean toilets at the age of 13.
So it's almost like being proved wrong, like all of these things that you've done, you've been on your journey.
It was kind of like what I don't want to say that, but the way I saw it, it was like telling to my mom, what you thought I could become is useless, is worthless, because I'm not. I'm just a toilet cleaner, and it was a question of, but then I didn't want to tell that to my mom, because I said, but I am not a toilet cleaner. Just the fact that I am doing toilets at the moment, that's fine. That's just a job, just a temporary thing and a temporary moment that I had to do, and that's it. I mean, and the thing is, McDonald's is a great organization if you are the right person for them. And I went from cleaning toilets to actually just running the office at the back within 3 months. So
within 3 months.
Yeah. So I was counting the money on McDonald's.
So basically, if you're hitting rock bottom, just have the right attitude and go clean toilets at McDonald's, yeah?
Absolutely.
I think that's an important thing.
The point is, I didn't see myself as a toilet cleaner. I saw it's a bit of a like, you know, when you hear the story about that cleaner for the NASA, and they say that I think it's they call it janitors, isn't
Yeah,
it, in the
janitor in
US?
America. Yeah.
And then he said, "So what do you do?" And he said, "I put rockets in America." It never hated me until years later when I thought, well, that was exactly the same attitude I had. You know, it was not that I was a cleaner. I was just doing a job, and you know, and that was not who I was. That was just a job,
Yeah.
and you know,
A
and
means
I
to an
proved
end.
myself very, very quickly. And then obviously I proved that I could do a lot more. And I took any opportunities in McDonald's to just do extra shift, to do anything to show them that I could just do more. And within 3 months, you know, I was counting the money in the back office because I was good at it. And why would they? And you know, so why would they keep me cleaning toilets when I could just run the back office better than no one else? So
Yeah.
so that was a very important thing. But remember as well that when I first came to the UK, I came with no expectations. I came with zero. I didn't know what I was walking into. I didn't really know. um you know, I didn't
Do you,
really have anything.
do you think that was helpful for you having no expectations?
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. Because the problem is that, and I see it nowadays, people are coming. I have people that call me from Spain, and they will say, "I want to send my son," or at the time, "Oh, I want to go to England, but what can I do? What can I get a job?" And it's like, would you just get any job? What do you know? What you want? For me, it was kind of like, well, you just do what you have to do to
Yeah.
survive. It's not. It's not. It's like the basic of everything. If you do have, um, if you're not expecting anything, if you've cut all your bridges behind, like I did, I didn't have a ticket to go back to Spain to my mum. I didn't want to tell my mum that she's paid for an education for me to become a cleaner. You know, I didn't want myself to be my mindset. I didn't want to break down my whole mindset that I could be something that I was not. The one thing I knew from very, very little is that I knew one day I was going to be a millionaire. And I don't know why, but I knew it. And my mom always said to me, you know, you seem that you are born in the wrong family, baby, because your taste and your ideas are just no normal. You know, I don't know where you get this from, but this is no normal. And I used to complain to my mom and used to say, "Mommy, I don't know why you insist that I have to clean because I'm never going to clean when I'm older." And then she said, "Because even if you do, you have to show your cleaners how to do it." So my mom was a very, very hardworking person, and she said, "No nonsense. You know, you have to learn how to clean. Full stop, no matter who you are." And I think that kind of attitude of no nonsense attitude was the kind of like just push me forward. I
Mm.
had to sleep in a hotel after the first week in a hostel in a youth hostel. I upgraded myself to a hotel, me and my friend in Islington, and I was like, "Wow, it's a great part." Blah blah blah. Well, little I know that the fucking hotel had cockroaches all over, and the sheets were so dirty that we had to put all our clothes on top of that in order to be able to sleep. You know that, and I'm not saying this as something that, you know, it was funny. No, it was just scary. It was truly scary at the time. You know, you're
Mm.
talking about a 23 years old, 22 years old girl who hasn't got experience, has left England. She has no family, no friends, no nothing. And I'm in
Mm.
a hotel where I have to put my clothes on top of the sheets because I'm too disgusted to actually sleep on those sheets. So obviously that was a massive lesson. And then again, that taught me that, you know, I needed money to get out of there. You couldn't.
Mm.
I was not going to live there. I was not going to live like that. I was not going to clean those toilets anymore. And you know, so I upgraded myself to a waitressing job.
Okay.
And then, you know, so and I went to a high-end restaurant. And then because I'm educated and I have a degree and everything, so obviously, and I've done, during my years in Spain, I have done white glove waitressing, so I can get myself in and start making £45,000 a year on tips. So
Wow.
so
Is that
yes.
how much you can make in tips?
Yeah,
What?
at the right restaurant in the city, yes. And I
Okay.
wasn't there. And that was 20 years ago. So imagine what.
And how long did you do that for?
365 days.
Exactly.
Because I was sacked. I
What, making too much tips?
no, probably with the fact that I was not as submissive, and I was not as I just put it this way, I don't like when people is being treated badly.
Mm-hmm.
And I will stand up.
With the Spanish flair, I can imagine how that few fireworks.
Exactly. And then I had a little bit of a sparkle with my manager at the time, and because I thought she was doing something that it was wrong, and I couldn't just, I just couldn't see it. I couldn't let it happen.
Yeah.
And I had to speak out, and obviously that meant that I ended up my waitressing career. But there you go.
There you go. That was a blessing in disguise.
Absolutely. I because it was an unfair dismissal, I took them to court, so I ended up making money.
Did you?
Yeah. I'm not being walked all over, Russell.
Oh, hey, come on.
No. You can't. It's not fair. You can't. People can't.
No, but it's good. Like, a lot of people don't have the courage to challenge, especially if you're telling me it was high end. A lot of people would just kind of left it and walked on. So it's good that you found, like, you were challenging them and you won.
Yeah. Remember that when I was little, I was challenging my doctor when he was giving me a pill, and I was telling him, why are you giving me this pill? Why? So it didn't come as strange. It's something that has always been on me. I want to understand.
Okay, and, that's good.
So that's why. And also my mom has always taught me, you have to fight for what you want. So I was not going to let someone do that, walk all over me. But that was the best thing that happened to me. Then I took a year off. I was a year looking for a job, because I said I was not going to
spending that 45K.
Remember that at this time I know how to party, so there was no
okay. Okay.
I had to end up being on benefits, and I learned I learned how hard it is to live on the benefit line, and how hard it was to do everything. So I tried to get out of it as soon as possible.
So you're going, like, literally going like shoo to the top of the mountain, back down, but you're learning valuable lessons, I guess, which are gonna, keep essentially teach you everything you need to know to run this business and help other people in the future.
Exactly. And I think it's because I've been on the poverty line myself, because I have been on the high end myself, I know what I wanted in both places. And that's how I run the business. I run the business at both ends, at high end, and also at the social housing level. But just because at the social housing level it means that people has less income, it doesn't mean that you're going to give them less. And this is my fight. My fight is actually to provide better homes for social housing, because I don't believe that just because you don't have the money, you have to have a better house.
Yeah.
And this is the attitude that I find, that social landlords are just not interested on the tenant. They're just interested on the money.
So this is very interesting, and I just want to say one thing. So obviously, you know what I'm doing. I was an electrician, started a construction company, and one of the things I feel very passionate about is transforming people's lives through their homes. And it's because I didn't even realize, Raquel, until recently, having done it now for obviously been an electrician for 10 years, but now kind of doing construction for a year and a half, 2 years, that how just changing someone's bathroom or kitchen or living space can actually completely transform them as a person, and give them the confidence that they had, and improve the quality of life. And obviously, so that's something I feel very passionate about, and I'm very empathetic to try and help, equally the same as you on all levels, not just the higher level. In fact, I aim for the middle of the market, mostly. So the one thing that I'm missing is understanding how I can add, the green side of it, the sustainability side of it. And so, it'd be interesting for the last 10, 15, 20 minutes, however much time you can give us left, is to quickly go into how you ended up starting your own business. You gave us a little bit of insight at the beginning of, it was when you almost got kicked out, and what is your business do now, and how are you transforming people's lives and helping them, and how can some of our listeners, myself, what are your services and how can we enact them?
Oh, thank you. I mean, as I said, I started the business because I started working and I had 2 jobs and I had spare money, and I started becoming an armchair investor. So I started buying flats and then just renting them out.
So what are we talking about? How much are we talking about buying a flat? Like, because obviously right now buying a flat roughly in London, you're looking at between 350K. So
yeah, but I
no
wasn't
one's going to
buying in
have,
London.
and based on
But
the
I
principle of
wasn't buying.
10K.
No,
Yeah.
We're talking about I was buying flats outside of London. So I was buying flats in Manchester,
Okay.
in Ipswich, in Yorkshire. So where the flats were cheap, so I could afford to just get a mortgage, a buy-to-let mortgage, and then actually just buy that.
And how
So
much are these flats worth? I mean, back then, your first one.
£125,000.
Okay, so still considerable amount of money.
Yeah, but you have to think that by this time, is I've had 2 jobs, so I'm working 2 jobs on a daily basis. My husband is also working.
What's the 2 jobs?
The 2 jobs that I had,
Yeah.
I work for the government. I work for the Department of at that time I was working for the Department of DTI, Trade and Industry.
Okay.
God, I can't remember. For the Department of Trade and Industry, and also I had a full-time job as a photographer. I had to train myself and gone to night school to become a photographer, and
Okay.
and I was working for an agency. So I was working 7 days a week.
Amazing.
8 till 4, and then 4 to about 10 o'clock or something like that. So I was working 2 jobs. Then my husband was also working. I didn't have kids. I didn't have anything. So we started putting together a lot of cash, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And that's why we were able to just buy these flats.
And how did you know, so how did you get into actually buying flats? Like what got you into needing to own? Yeah.
Yeah, a friend of ours just bought some flats, and I was talking to her, and she said to us, she's buying some flats, and I just thought, what do you mean you're buying some flats? And she says, yeah, because then we rent them out and then just make a bit of income like that. And I thought, that sounds like interesting. So, by this time, my husband and I have got our own home, so we are, and I was lucky to marry my husband because his home was. He had no mortgage, so we had a very comfortable life, if that makes sense. And so I'm just thinking, so I can do that. I can just do this. So she put me in touch with a company that intended to be this company. I mean, in the long term, basically, it took 10 years to deliver the flat that I bought, which knocked my confidence down because. Obviously this flat now, because of the Grenfell Tower and everything, has issues, and we still have the flat still worth 125,000 pounds after 10 years.
Well, it hasn't gone up at all.
No. And if I sell it nowadays, I don't.
Sorry, I didn't mean to laugh. I'm just.
No. It's to show you that success in property doesn't mean that every deal is going to go right. And it doesn't mean that success in property doesn't mean that you're not going to make mistakes. And I was a rookie. I didn't have a clue. Someone said to me, just give me 20K and I'll give you a flat. Great. I didn't check anything. I didn't know anything. All I thought was I rent it out. It makes money. That's all I care.
But it is rented out. You are getting money.
Yeah. It's always been a cash cow, that flat. It's been giving me money from day one. It's just that it's never increases capital value.
Oh, okay. And so if a flat doesn't increase its capital value, do you still think it's worth it on a very long-term basis? Or do you think that you want to also buy something that at least increases in value as well?
I think this is 2 different strategies. You either buy for cash or you buy for capital appreciation. In this case, I had not, at that time when I bought that flat, I didn't have an idea. I didn't know what I was doing. I just wanted, I'll just have a little bit of money. So I bought for what I thought was a cash investment. The idea was that it was going to go up in value, but it didn't. But was it
10% deposit?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it was a very cheap flat for me to buy off plan and everything. So so I thought I was just doing the deal of the year. But obviously, so it depends on what you want. And a mixed portfolio or a balanced portfolio would be such that actually has both ends. A bit that it has the cash so that it's generating income, but also you want to have assets which are growing in value.
Growing in value, yeah.
And
But both are rentals. But both are rentals as well, though.
Pardon?
Both are rental property. You're buying, even though one's going up in value and the other one's kind of holding its value, you're still renting both of them out.
Yeah, exactly. So that's the idea. So the idea is to make money on a passive way. So, you rent that, if you have an agent managing it, you're not doing anything other than just sitting there, getting income through. So that was the idea. We just thought, okay, we'll just buy some more. So we bought a few things like this, and then one of the companies that we got educated in property. My husband and I suddenly started going to seminars, and then my husband thought, I know what to do. I don't need any of this. And I thought, well, I don't. So I'm going to go. So my husband decided he was not going to get involved on the property. And then I decided to educate myself highly. And then when I decided to educate myself highly, then suddenly I realized what was first. So then it's when I realized my husband and my values were always looking after the tenants. That was our number one priority. Whether it made money for us or not, I could not sleep at night if there was something wrong with the tenant or there's something wrong with the house. So we started putting tenant first in everything that we did. And so we started doing the houses as if they were for us. Yes, the refurbishments were more expensive, but guess what? Because the house was finished to such a high standards, I was starting to attract the highest rent in the road. So every time I would buy a house, then suddenly that house would be the more expensive house in the market. Like in a road where a 3-bedroom house would rent out between £1,200 and £1,200, my house would rent out at 1,500 or 1,700 for the same house. Exactly.
So the value was always being essentially reached in terms of the return.
Exactly. So the return was always there for us. And we started to run the business through certain standards. Like, we have within 24 hours, we always answer the calls from the tenants directly. They don't get diverted. Within 48 hours of reporting something, they will have someone on site to check, to actually fix the issue, or if not, to just get it. So we have very, very clear operational procedures to do it. And it was actually through COVID that we're running the business successfully and everything is fine. And then through COVID really hits us. That two things. First of all is that we were very fortunate and we never had any problems with our tenants. The tenants who couldn't pay, we made agreements with them. We helped them to do it. We tried to help them. But even that, there was only a couple of them amongst all of our tenants. So we were quite successful. We didn't raise rents for 2 years. We still haven't raised any rents. And we have promised our tenants that we will not raise anything until 1 year has been cleared completely. So we try to just be very sympathetic to our tenants because we like to make sure that they feel at home and they don't feel threatened. And it was during COVID that, people were struggling with bills. We saw this, but not in our tenants, but outside of our tenants, people were struggling. And then we realized, okay, so what can we do? What can we do to make sure that living in our houses is cheaper? And then it's when we realized, we did a massive study. We started looking into technologies. What can we introduce in order to run the business cost, the running cost of the houses lower? And then it's when we suddenly just realized, oh my God, if we apply all of these things, suddenly our houses are so much cheaper. That is, it's even a win-win scenario. It's a win scenario for me because I have a house that is to a very high standard of insulation, which have great EPCs, it has the latest technologies. It's a house that is in great condition. The tenants love living on it, so they stay for very long periods of time. You're talking between 3 to 5 years every tenant. So we don't have voids, we don't have anything. So let's reinvest in ourselves rather than just keep on growing. And then, so we decided to put a huge amount of money to actually retrofit all of these technologies in our houses. And that's where we are at the moment.
Okay, That's so interesting. So can you kind of expand on some of these technologies that you're implementing in all of your houses? So kind of giving me some insight so I can start recommending it and doing my own research.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
are we talking about like solar, obviously insulating? So can you kind of
Yeah.
expand a little bit
So
more on that?
exactly. So high level of insulation is the very basic. So when we are actually doing a property, we were already bringing everything back to brick. So we would remove absolutely everything and then just start from there.
So every property you buy, you do that,
Bring
that's
back to brick. Yeah,
every single one.
every single one.
And
So that
then that's on the basis that you can then be 100% certain about
how things are done.
and the quality of the build, which then obviously, as I know, reduces future costs on repair and maintenance.
For maintenance, absolutely.
Yeah, I try to tell all my clients this, but it's such a difficult conversation when people have a budget and they have all these dreams and you're telling them that you need to just remove those walls because they're just going to cause you decorating costs for the next 20 years. And it's, I find it really difficult to sometimes, try to educate people without them thinking I'm just trying to make more money.
Yeah, absolutely. But it is extremely important. And then what you want? You want an asset. You don't want a liability or an albatross around your neck, is it? So I want a house and I'm going to give to someone. And for the next 20 years, I don't want to worry about anything. I don't want to have to worry about. I know that if there is, I mean, one of the traditional things is we will buy a house that has been run by our landlord, yeah? And then within a year, we will have massive plumbing issues to the point that in one of the houses, the whole ceiling in the living room just collapsed because he had used gaffer tape to actually put the joints together.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I mean, it was truly unbelievable. The things that we have found in houses and then it's kind of like, oh my God. And of course, we had tenants, so we couldn't get them out. So obviously, that ceiling collapsing meant that we had to get everyone out. So that was a perfect excuse to then take 8 weeks out, remove everything from the property, bring it back to brick, and then start all over again.
And so when you bring a property back to brick, is that sort of the beginning process of you initially weren't thinking green or how we can make things more sustainable, or have you always done that? So like, can you talk me through? So we've got a house back to brick.
And then
what are the expenses that you're putting in to make a property more sustainable?
Exactly. We were always highly insulating everything, pipes, solid cellars, lofts. We were insulating everything. We were always putting TRC valves on radiators. We were doing the things, but we didn't think it was sustainable. We just thought that's the right way. That's the way you do things. You do them correctly. You do them once.
Yeah.
And you do them to the best of your ability. And then that's it. You clean up your hand. So we never thought that it was there. What we did over COVID was looking into solar technologies, heat pump, ground pump, insulation panels. We started looking into thicker insulations and less compact insulations, which had a much better density. Then we started to look at technologies to clean up the radiators to make sure that they run more effectively. Then we started looking at things that they were quite innovative, and I was quite like, oh my God, can you imagine? I mean, there's loads of things that I use in the commercial world that are not in the
domestic setting. Yeah.
And then you think, and I was thinking there, I'm thinking, please bring it to the residential area. Please bring it to the residential area, because the difference were amazing. And so,
what has the biggest impact in your opinion, like on in terms of cost versus return?
Solar panels.
Really?
It's a no-brainer. Absolutely. I mean, you're talking about a traditional installation, Russell. You're talking about between £3,000 to £6,000, depending on the size of the house. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you get your money back in nothing. It's a no-brainer. I mean, a normal house will just.
So when everyone's spending all this money on a new floor or whatever, what about on piped underfloor heating?
Underfloor heating, yes, 100%. 100%.
So some of my customers are probably listening to this, or some of my future customers, and they're thinking, what is going on? So name me what are the top 5 for every client, for every property that we strip back has to have this, for based on the fact that you spend it now, you have it back in less than a year?
I'm not sure back in a year, all of the
Okay, it's 3 years.
Because the sustainable approach is actually an approach that is based on the and situation, where it's just little by little. You start saving here and here and here and here.
Yeah. Sorry. I know I was being very optimistic there.
Very, very optimistic, I'm afraid. But yeah.
Okay, 10 years, over the grand scheme of 10 years, not only has it paid itself off, it's also saved you so much money. Like in terms of a 10-year investment on a property. Although what I'm finding in London is most people, unless it's their forever home, won't think more than 5 years. It's generally 3 or 5. It seems like the average in London. So
I will put on the floor. Look, I will just clean your radiators, flush your radiators, and then just have them clean. Yeah, that's a straight away number one. I will do that to absolutely every single person. If you are doing a brand new thing, just change your pipe. Just change your if you are taking a house back to brick, put on the floor heating 100%.
And do you use plastic pipes or do you use copper pipes?
No. We use plastic pipes.
Okay, and insulate them as well.
And then yes, that's right.
So plastics pipes, insulate. If you're not replacing the plumbing, then you're cleaning all the radiators out. What are we using to clean the radiators?
We use, but we can't name the name because it's not actually on the domestic market, so we can't say that.
Oh, okay. I'll email you later.
But they are looking. The company is actually looking into bringing into the market, and it is the difference is amazing. The heat that actually produces and the heat waste solve is just amazing. So basically, yeah, so we will just flush your radiators. Make sure you have a power flush in your radiators completely. If you are replacing piping, and I would always say, especially if you have a house that has not been rewired in 10 years, just bring it back. Just remove everything and just upgrade it. Because if you upgrade everything, that means that
new boiler.
Yeah. But
so you were saying air source heat pumps.
I'm on a mission of not putting a single boiler ever again in any one of my houses.
So what are we putting in instead then?
So I'm actually gonna be putting air source heat pumps. So I am investing.
And what's the cost value? So a boiler, 2.5 grand installation. What's air source heat pump looking like?
Okay, so a heat pump will cost you about £10,000 at the moment. Yeah?
Including install?
No. That's just for the machine normally. So
okay.
So you're looking at normally anything from £10,000 upwards. So £12,000, £15,000, something like that. Now with the heat incentive, the renewables heat incentive at the moment, and you have 1 year left from from a few months ago. So you have less than a year to actually get some of this money back.
Okay.
Basically, this breaks it back. In my case, is brought back to installations costing me exactly the same as a gas boiler installation. So at about £3,500. So
with the tax, with the
renewable heat incentive, because what's happening is that depends on how much you can't just generalize, and we are generalizing here. So we're talking about, if we put an air source heat pump or a ground source heat pump, then we're talking about how much energy do you need in your house. If you're a household of one, well, probably it's not going to be very cost effective.
No, it's not effective. But if you're a household of 3 to 5, then obviously it makes a lot of sense.
Exactly. If you have HMOs like I have, and suddenly your heat, you need to be creating a lot of electricity. You are, and then obviously that's where the heat pump will come in, and then suddenly will just make you money. So if you combine the fact that you are creating energy on the solar panels, and then you are using all the energy in order to pay for your electricity, and then the electricity that you don't use, then you get some money back as well from the government. Suddenly, it's once again the ant strategy, where you're making money from here.
Yeah. Okay.
So suddenly you've got when you're looking at the overall cost, yes, sometimes it's huge. But for instance, on the latest executive home that I did, we paid £27,000 for a heat pump, a ground source heat pump installation and everything. But to us, it's actually costing us £1,500.
How?
Yeah, because this property in particular, the generation is so huge that we just get all the money back for not actually having to pay the grid, because we are producing. It takes air. Yeah, you take air from outside.
Yeah.
The machine.
Yeah.
You heat up your place.
You heat up the house, yeah?
Yeah. So,
From the air outside.
yeah, from the air side, you heat up the house, and then what happens is that everything just get all the everything that you are produce, everything you're using is being actually paid off because you have the solar panels which are creating the energy, the electricity that you need in order to run the heat pump. So you end up in a situation where you are just like this. So
Carbon
you
neutral.
consuming, but you are creator, and therefore all you paying is the little difference.
So, and that's because you're using solar with air source heat pump. So you're getting your heating from your air source heat pump, which means you never need to pay to warm the house.
Yeah.
And then you've got solar power powering absolutely everything else.
Yeah.
And so, okay.
So there is like, hello.
And when you say, oh, the total cost was 20,000, but then you only paid 1,000, is that on the basis of a year?
27
in terms of the bills, because you're normal. You're normal. 7 years. Okay. Yeah. 7. Okay. Is that your model that you look at?
Yeah. Over the period of 7 years, we have to look at the 7-year model because that's if you manage to get the renewable heat incentive, that is the 7-year model. So you
okay, amazing.
During 7 years. So yeah.
Sign me up. So how are we going to start the RH portfolio with the Green Landlady?
That's really good. Then you first of all, you just give me a call. That's and then I talk to you free of for nothing. You know, we just
have free consultation.
Half an hour.
Yeah,
we have a half an hour chat, and then we see whether we can help each other and what is your goals and whether you are aligned with what we're doing. And there's 100%. Several. And then you just do several things. You know, you can just do several things. You can just give us a lump sum if you know, like the majority.
And so just talking through your business model actually for any listeners. So we make sure we're aligned with you. And if we are, then we look at a lump sum. And is that to invest in a portfolio that you have, or do you create a new portfolio for the client that's for a new client?
Well, this is what is in discussion, depending on what the client wants, and then we can look at batch options. So we can actually. Sorry about that.
It's okay.
Yeah. So basically, what we can do is batch options. So we can actually just have we have a situation where we can just give us a lump sum and then you just get a steady return. So you just make passive income out of nothing. So you invest your money, and instead of getting a 0.1% that a savings account will give you, or 1% that a NISA will give you, then obviously you get more money with us. So,
do you know what an average number pick out of there?
Yeah, depending on the conditions on which they are long or length and everything. You know, you can get anything up to 8% returns on the money. So there is a massive, but then obviously this cannot be, I cannot specify because you can't.
No, each case is you know, completely unique to the circumstances. Completely
Absolutely.
Understand.
And it might be that the person is not, the person does not qualify as a high net worth investor, and then you can't even talk about money with them. So, you know, but normally that's what you would expect. But,
okay. And are you giving advice, like you've given me some today, and hopefully some of my listeners, do you give advice on how to essentially start a property, or equally how to become more green with your properties?
Yeah, exactly. If they want to, one of the things that we have started doing more and more since COVID is actually people is calling us to analyze and do a bit of an audit of their properties, and then just see where they can be improvements and whether there can be any improvements, because some houses cannot be improvements, and then we help them to be in touch with the right people to do all the surveys that needs to be done, and then everything that needs to be done, and then just basically share the knowledge that we have gained through the process. That is exactly what we do with people. We say, this is what we've done, and this is what you need to do if you want to do it. And
okay, amazing.
You either do it yourself, or you can just hire us to do it for you. But But yeah, and then the last time is obviously when you have someone who's wanting to start a portfolio, and then they just want to understand really. We have a very small entry level fee where people just pay for an hour of the time, and then I will sit down with them, and then they will tell me what they want to do. They'll give me the example of the houses that they want to be looking at, and then I'll sit down with them and analyze them. And I'll just say, okay, this works, this doesn't work. This is why it works, this is why it doesn't work. And then he goes home, and then hopefully he's learned on that little bit of an hour.
Yeah.
Learned exactly what he needs.
Yeah, aligning him with his own goals.
Yeah. So, and then he learns what he needs, and then he can just take it from there. So that's the most important thing, Russell, is you need to get educated in property in order to make money. You cannot make money.
I know the internals. I just need to start working out the mechanics, because basically I can do building at cost. So I need to sort of enter a partnership with you, and
absolutely,
and we can start to take over South London.
Absolutely. Let's find some deals to work on together. I would be more than happy to do it. Southwest London is one of the areas that I invest in anyway. So
amazing. Okay.
Perfectly located for me.
All right, cool. So Raquel, thank you so much for your time today. It's been an amazing insight into your own journey and how you got to become the green landlady. And I think I've personally taken so many insights. And I think for the first time, this is actually quite relevant to my own business. What you do, sort of property investment, and I really love the sustainability and the green element. It's something that I feel very passionate about, but I have to be honest, I haven't actually started in essentially implementing it or bringing that, other than lighting and LED. But I definitely want to hopefully start, with your guidance, get into the right circle so I can start educating my own clients.
Absolutely. And I look forward to it. Thank you so much for having me.
No, it's my pleasure. One of the things that we've had loads of golden wisdom from you, and I think for me, the one thing that I've taken away, and you've reminded me, that it doesn't matter where you end up at any point during your life, where there's still always time and an opportunity to change the circumstances, and just to keep going and work hard, and you can become whatever you want to become.
Exactly. I could not be bigger advocate than that. So it doesn't matter where you are in a current moment of time. Is what's up here that matters.
Yeah.
And your mindset that just drives everything. So yeah.
And if there's a young listener out there that wants to become a property investor, or on their own journey, or if you had some advice, 3 pieces of wisdom or advice that you would give to young Raquel, what would they be?
Educate yourself faster. Educate yourself faster. Don't waste time, and then just work smarter from the very beginning.
Smarter. Okay, but I challenge you on the don't waste time. You were partying for a long period. That wasn't. You could argue that was wasting time, but it was but it was quite key to your own journey.
It was. But looking back, I'm thinking I could have achieved so much faster the results that I have.
But then your journey wouldn't be where you are now.
You're right. So it's a bit of but I think it is one of those, you do have to party. You have to have the wild years, Russell. I think we all have them at some point. I just think they didn't have to be, perhaps it didn't have to be that long though.
Okay, cool.
But it was great. Thank you ever so much for everything.
Yeah, thank you so much, Raquel.
Have a good day. Bye.
You too. Bye-bye.